Do it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Open Book Entrepreneur. I'm thrilled that we have Martie Smith with us here. She's author. She wrote already 9 or 10 books. Correct me if I'm wrong, Martie, please. And she's a
Yes.
coach and a speaker. And yeah, it's lovely to have her here. So please, Martie, introduce yourself to our audience.
So I'm a Jackie of all trades and mistress of none, and I've had the fortune of becoming a resilience ambassador this long after my careers were over. I've moved 49 times in my lifetime. I've had 27 surgeries. I've been in a wheelchair. On top of that, I was called a mistake by my parents when I was 7 years old. But that was what planted a seed in me to want to prove to the world, maybe myself, that I was worth something. And it took 60 years to figure it out. The pandemic struck, and that's when I started taking off with the writing and everything else. But it's always a pleasure for me to share my message of hope, of resilience, and that's the legacy I want to leave behind. But thank you for having me, Tony. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, wonderful. So tell us, please, what are some of your books about? Can you share that with our audience, please?
Okay, the first one is Resilience Nourishes the Soul, and that's where the catharsis occurred of all the things that I had suffered. I always complained about, wow, I never stayed put in one place or had long-term relationships or with friends. And I was looking for something to, I guess, belong to. I didn't know what I was looking for, but I just needed to find meaning in my life. And the pandemic struck after being in a wheelchair and getting a spine stimulator installed in me, which made me walk again. My muscles were atrophied during that condition. It's reflex sympathetic dystrophy, now known as chronic regional pain syndrome. And what it does is it just hurts. Everything hurts, and your muscles don't send the signals to your nerves, or vice versa. Your nerves don't send them to the muscles, and nothing works. So you get really weak. So they're trapped. The atrophied muscles was what put me in the wheelchair. But I also was very severely depressed with a psychiatrist and taking tons of medications. I was pretty much on my last hope. I didn't see anything promising for me, but the pandemic struck and something clicked, and that was my shift. All of a sudden it's like, Marty, you can't go back to where you were when you were in a wheelchair sitting at home and woe is me and playing the violins and oh, I'm no good at anything. I felt like God was calling me to share my story, and to share my story, not with all the bad stuff that happened. Yes, maybe share it, but show how I overcame, how I surpassed, how I survived so many things that most people don't get to experience. So I said, wow, I didn't have children. I always thought I was a mistake because not having children. But now I see that if I can leave that wisdom, that little bit of knowledge, those little recipes of ingredients that I learned during writing this book, it was a healing process. I forgave my parents. I actually ended up putting them both to rest. I came back to the house and took care of my dad, who had Alzheimer's, and my mom had dementia and cancer. So it was like nobody, my other brothers, like, I don't mess with that. No, I was the one, the black sheep, the one that went against the grain, was the one that came back. But it was God showing me that even though I was been through hell, he was going to bring me out of the ashes and like a phoenix rising, and surviving all that, and showing the world that I am joyful, that I am a miracle, that I have potential, that I can share many things. So I feel rich. And so it's, to me, it's not about making money. Yes, money is important, but if I make more money, I want to share it with the world to increase the message. So it's just crazy how you shift your mind and you see things that you never imagined you could possibly do.
Totally. And what's been one of the biggest successes in your business journey so far?
Well, the fact that I took Spanish back up, because I renounced Spanish for a while. For 8 years, I didn't speak Spanish. Why? Because the dialect in Colombia, where I was born in Colombia, South America, if you went to Venezuela, and I lived in Venezuela and Colombia, I knew people from Chile, Argentina, all up and down the whole spectrum of the Latin American Spanish. But I never felt comfortable speaking because what I would should have said in one country, I said it in another, and I was like, "Whoa!" So I swore off English for about 8 years, and then the pandemic hit. I wrote the book in English, and then I was like, okay, you realize all the gifts you've been given. You've been given two languages. What are you doing with the other? Why are you holding back? Boom. I wrote it in Spanish. So I say the biggest accomplishment for me was translating my book into Spanish, La Resiliencia Nutre el Alma. That generated even more wanting to do. And I got invited to do a couple of anthologies. And then I was like, I'm going to write another book. But this time I'm going to write more like in the present about creative chaos warrior, how we're being bombarded with all this misinformation. We don't know what's true, what wasn't. Did people landed in the moon? Maybe they didn't. The world is flat, maybe not. How do you deal with all that on top of everyday adversity? So I was like, okay, I could do something with this. And I wrote Creative Chaos. It became a bestseller. So to me, I was like, yes. So it's like I can't really pinpoint anything, but I think the biggest achievement was writing the book in Spanish because it opened up two markets of the same category in different directions, which made me realize that I'm getting my dream come true. Why? Because I asked God to let me spread the message worldwide, and I've become global. I've gone across to England, to France, to Europe, everywhere. So it's really cool. And if I could speak all the different languages, which I also am now arranging to have it in various versions of the language, because resilience is key. It's key for everyone. I don't think that there's a soul alive that doesn't want to know how to deal with the bad things that come at them. So I
Totally.
don't know which one was good.
And also, I've seen that you won a number of awards as well. Like, can you tell us a little bit about that as well, please?
Well, the first book I published was Resilience Nourishes the Soul. I published it in December. In January, I had already won a Resilience Award. And I was like, well, okay, that looks good on the resume. I didn't really pay it much attention because my original idea was put it on Amazon and let it trickle residual income. I didn't really wasn't promoting a business or anything. And 6 months later, they call me from England. We've nominated you for a Women of Hearts Award. And I was like, ooh, that looks good on the resume. And then they call me and they say, you've actually won. Come pick it up. So I picked it up in November. While I was there picking up my award, it's that one. I picked up a whole bunch of them. I mean, it's like next door in Ireland, they nominated me for Women: A Story of Global Impact. So it's like, boom. Okay, so now it's not resume. Now it's like, Marty, you got a business. You got to do something with this. And then I got home, and in Latinos Sin Fronteras, that's the Spanish, they nominated me for Inspiration 2023. And I was like, okay, let's get busy. Let's do something. And I started feeling like I could do more than I was starting to do. And next thing I know it, I did 100 Voices of Women. It's an anthology. It became a bestseller, not just in the USA and Canada. And it's like boom, 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 boom. I can't even keep up with everything that has happened. And it's wonderful. And I appreciate that people are recognizing me. But what I really want to share with the world is you can do it too. Just because I'm sitting here doesn't mean that, oh, she must have been gifted. La, la. Yes, we're all gifted. We're all gifted. And if we take and look at what we have inside, the keys are there. We just have to turn it on, put the key in the motor and crank up our inspiration and say, okay, or get around the people that recognize it in you, which is what happened to me because people were telling me, all my mentors are like, oh, you can this and you can that. And I was, they're crazy. They don't know what I've been through. But now I see that they were very accurate in what I'm accomplishing. I won last year at the end of the year International Association of Top Professionals as a resilience ambassador. And I've won numerous other certificates that I can't name them off the top of my back. But like I said, all this just acknowledges that if I could do it, anyone can. So never give up. You have something to share with the world. You just don't know how. And if you don't know how, call me. I will set you on the right path.
Wonderful, wonderful. So if someone wants to actually get in touch with you, or like find your books or anything like that, like how they can do that?
I have a website. It's called martiemsmith.com, and I'm all over the social media. And if you just, I'll leave you my website, and then from there they can, follow me wherever. But it's just, I want people to dare to be bold, and dare to try something new, that then perhaps that might be the ticket of what they thought they couldn't do. It's that simple. We complicate life. We're the ones that add all that little spice of, oh, I can't do this, and no, I can't, and negativity, and all that. And that just clouds our vision of our dream. I always thought, what am I going to dream for? Nothing ever comes true. Or, yeah, I did this and I did that. I was in the Air Force. I wanted to be a pilot. No, I didn't become that. I got hurt. No, I was a radiation therapist treating cancer patients. I want to be a doctor. No, I got hurt. So it's like every time I would see something, I shut back down, because I felt like that was the end of it. Had I looked at it in different versions, yes, I wasn't a pilot, but I could have said, hey, I became disciplined. I became independent. Have freedom to choose what I do. I am my own person. My own values, my own virtues are what dictate me. No one tells me what to do. So it's like you really have to resort how you say things to yourself, and then you see and discover the miracle you are. Something else, like if I wanted to be a doctor, okay, maybe I don't get to be practicing in a hospital, but this is just as good, helping people see how to heal themselves. There was a reason and a purpose for everything that I went through, even though it doesn't seem like, how does a nuclear power plant mechanic, an instrumentation fitter, a carpenter that rebuilt their own house, their dream home with their husband, I was very non-traditional girl. And I think it had everything to do with saying, okay, we didn't want girls in the family. So I kind of tended to be the tomboy, but I also like to being the girl. So it's like, I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna fudge it up a little bit and say, okay, this is what I want to do. And so it made me unique. It made me realize that I have a whole lot more to offer than I realized.
Totally. And what's one final tip that you could offer our audience in terms of, like, so if someone actually is experiencing things like you mentioned, they want something, but then they're like pulled back and this sort of keeps happening and stuff, how to stop that cycle and really break through?
So first of all, you have to examine what dialogue you have with yourself. Okay. You say, I have to this, I have to that. No, I want to. And that changes your attitude. Like, okay, it's not an obligation. It's like a dare, I want to be bold. I want to try. I want to see. And so what if you make mistakes? If you study all the people that have been successful in life, the big dogs, they've all failed. They've all wanted to give up, and at the same time, they stuck with it and stuck with it, and then boom, it grew, and now there's no turning back. So just because life treats you badly doesn't mean you treat yourself badly. Doesn't mean you don't believe in yourself. Doesn't mean that you don't dare to think that you can do much more. And it's simple, but it sounds complicated for a lot of people, because we've put all that stuff in our head that doesn't let us see, doesn't let us dream. And I bring this message especially to the young people. Yes, this life that is now was not the youth that I grew up in. But if I grew up in the youth that I had, with all the hell I lived, I promise you, you're not too far off from making it through in this life.
Wonderful. Wow, Marty, thank you so much for being a guest today and sharing your wisdom with our audience and sharing your story and your experiences. And yeah, it was wonderful to have you as a guest. Thank you all for watching and listening to this podcast episode, and see you in the next episode.
Thank you very much. God bless everyone, and share this message, because everyone needs to hear this in one way, shape, or form, or share it with your children. Take care.
Absolutely.